Hello again, gentle listener, and thank you for tuning in to Hex Radio, the only radio station that is willing to broadcast from an abandoned radio tower whilst in the middle of a hurricane. I am your hostess, Echo, the Hex Maniac who's willing to risk life and limb for your entertainment. Joining me today for this very special broadcast on Ho-Oh is in fact a hurricane. She's the reason this broadcast is coming so late in the week. Orion and I needed to weatherproof the tower and settle ourselves in for the weekend. Despite being abandoned and in a bit of disrepair, the tower is a good deal more sturdy than our home, so it's where we've chosen to hunker down and wait out the storm. Please, gentle listener, don't worry about us. We are perfectly safe. I promise. Now, on to the subject of this broadcast. Ho-Oh, the second legendary bird of Johto, partner to Lugia. If Lugia could be described as guardian of the seas, then Ho-Oh is the guardian of the skies. It flies the world on wings that shimmer in iridescent, radiant, rainbow splendor, guaranteeing happiness and good luck to anyone fortunate enough to see it. Though I told this story before in my report on Lugia, it bears repeating as it's also the story of Ho-Oh. Centuries ago, in my hometown of Eckerteak, there stood two towers. The Tin Tower to the east and the Brass Tower to the west, built to represent the harmony between humans and Pokemon, and to foster friendship and hope between them. These towers sat on either side of Eckerteak, and each was the roost of a legendary bird. Lugia on the Brass Tower, and Ho-Oh on the Tin Tower. Of course, today the Brass Tower is but a ruin, known as the Burned Tower. It was burned in a fire that began when lightning struck during a drought, triggering a wildfire. The fire raged for 3 days before being put out by a sudden and torrential downpour, which I suspect was caused by the same slowpoke yawn that ended the drought in Azalea. But the damage was already done. Lugia left for the Whirl Islands, never to return, and 3 nameless Pokemon trapped in the tower perished. Before Ho-Oh left Eckerteak, it breathed new life into these 3 Pokemon, turning them into Suicune, Entei, and Raikou. And then, like Lugia, Ho-Oh flew off, never to return. If Lugia is rare and hardly ever seen, difficult to meet, then Ho-Oh is all but impossible to meet. There is, perhaps, a 1 in 7 billion chance that you might get to see more than just the rainbow trail left behind by Ho-Oh's wings as it flies. This is, you see, due entirely to the fact that Ho-Oh flies the world ceaselessly and tirelessly, searching for a pure-hearted person. There is one person in all the world that Ho-Oh would willingly appear before, and that, more than likely, means that that person is not either me nor you. That isn't to say that you'll never see Ho-Oh at all. As it flies, its feathers catch and refract the light into 7 glorious colors, which can be seen in the form of a shimmering rainbow in the skies. If you've ever seen a rainbow in the clouds when there's no rain, or a rainbow that doesn't appear in an arch with both ends touching the earth, then it is extremely likely that you've spotted Ho-Oh as it searches the world. Now, the rainbow on its own won't give you eternal happiness, but if you're very lucky, you might just see the silhouette of Ho-Oh in this rainbow. That is what will give you good luck, not just the rainbow on its own. Nowadays, we have only paintings and statues of Ho-Oh to capture it, but it must be truly a gorgeous creature that's impossible to replicate. After all, in paintings it appears red and white with gold and green on its feathers, and yet it is repeated throughout every story of Ho-Oh over and over again that it shines with 7 colors in the light. Guardian of the Skies, Ho-Oh is a flying and fire type Pokemon, which is perfectly suited to a bird who is very much a phoenix, resurrection and life given physical form. Ho-Oh used to be the only Pokemon that used the move Sacred Fire, a beautiful and powerful fire move that could easily burn an opponent without Ho-Oh needing to come in contact with its foe. Recently, however, it's been discovered that Entei can also use Sacred Fire. Still, this does mean that only 2 Pokemon can use this attack, and that's still rather impressive. For reasons that I don't understand, my husband Orion buys into a theory that Ho-Oh is a Fearow that died and was revived. Now, I do acknowledge that, physically speaking, there is a similarity. However, just because there's a similarity between Pokemon does not actually mean they're related. Look at Gengar and Clefairy. They have similar body types, they have similar ears, spikes, but they are certainly not related. The Tin Tower, now known as the Bell Tower, is home to a bell that is said to chime whenever Ho-Oh is nearby. The Ekritik Kimono Girls are also trained in a ritual involving bells that was, once upon a time, used to summon Ho-Oh. In fact, the music you've been hearing in the background is a recording of the music that plays when they practice this ritual. It's rather beautiful, isn't it? For those of you still listening, it's time for our weekly spell. I will, of course, be basing it very much so on Ho-Oh. It's also a bit of an arts and crafts project. Now, I'm not usually the kind of witch who likes to use spells that are more aesthetically pleasing than practical, but when you're working with a glitter wish jar, it's all in the aesthetics. In fact, it's the beauty of the jar that gives a boost to your intent and in turn strengthens the spell. Before we begin, you will need some ingredients. A jar or bottle with a removable and resealable lid. A gold or metallic paint marker or another form of gold or metallic paint. Red embroidery thread and silver bells. Rubbing alcohol, bottled water, and, of course, you are going to need glitter. The first thing you need to do is pour water into your jar or bottle. You want to use distilled bottled water because the lack of impurities will keep anything from potentially growing in the bottle. That's also why we have the rubbing alcohol. A good tablespoon of that in the water will make sure it lasts. Given this jar is based on Ho-Oh, I highly recommend using gold holographic glitter in the water to represent the 7 colors of its wings. This is also why you have the gold metallic paint. Just a little bit to color the water will give it a certain kind of shimmer that it wouldn't otherwise have on its own. You'll want to fill the jar nearly to the top with water but make sure you leave enough room for the other ingredients. Add in about a tablespoon of the rubbing alcohol, and then you can begin adding in your glitter. Now, you'll want to add your glitter in about a spoon or so at a time. Before doing this, you'll want to get a piece of paper and fashion it into a bit of a funnel by simply rolling it. This will help keep your workplace from getting messy. Now, as you add in your glitter, you'll want to either stir or reseal and shake the jar every so often until it reaches your desired level of glittery. Once done, reseal the jar and paint the lid with the gold paint. You can also add stars onto the glass if you wish. With this done, string the silver bells, tied together in a cluster, onto the red thread, and then wrap and tie this just below the lid on the jar. And with that, you're done. When you're feeling down and you need a boost of happiness or good luck, just give the jar a good, vigorous shake. Listen to the bells, watch the glitter, and let your troubles melt away. If you find this spell improves your life, then it's only fair for you to share a portion of your good fortune with me, don't you think? You can do so by purchasing a small bag of freshly ground hazelnut coffee and then bathing in it. I'm kidding. You drink the coffee. If you have any questions for me, or suggestions on what legendary I should do next, then feel free to send in your suggestions by making intense eye contact with the deep void of space, and then winking. Thank you again for being so patient with me. I appreciate everything you do for me, gentle listener. Please, stay tuned for a very spooky story. Have a good night, and happy hauntings.